At 21 years old, Dan Rocovits graduated from college with a degree in chemistry. He left the US and came to Vietnam for the first time the same year, 1966. Here, the young American graduate witnessed the realities of the battlefront in a war that he had abandonedly fought against since his days at university. Dan decided he would not return to the US. From Vietnam, he headed straight for Taiwan, where he would stay the next 20 years. In 1996, Dan came back to Vietnam. Touched by the warmth and acceptance of the Vietnamese people, Dan shares he felt a sense of guilt and a motivation to make amends. Here would begin his journey to participate wholeheartedly in a range of community projects on poverty reduction, assistance to the disabled, those living with HIV, and victims of Agent Orange dioxin. Dan is currently the CEO of Vietnam Hosteling International, where he teaches young volunteers knowledge and necessary skills so that they can join World Youth Rallies with confidence, thus helping to boost mutual understanding, peace and prosperity in the region and the world. Dan says he loves living in Vietnam, not only to help the country, though with just little things, but also to enjoy a peaceful life beside friendly, lovely people. 16 years in Vietnam, for Dan, are 16 years of peace and unique experiences, full of interest and surprise about the country, its land and people.
Hello there, you're here on another edition of Talk Vietnam. Now our guest today is an American man who has lived here in Vietnam since 1996. His love, his profound attachment to Vietnam has seen many of his Vietnamese friends here in Hanoi deem him a Vietnamese man. He's one of the first yoga instructors here in the country, but also he's been devoting his time and effort wholeheartedly to participating in social work issues here in the country. His name is Dan Rocovits, and he's here today with us to talk about his work and beyond that, his love for Vietnam. Hello, Dan. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Now, I know that you're the founder of Vietnam Hosteling International. Can you tell us a little bit about this organization?
Well, first of all, thank you, Ms. Zung, for inviting me. Actually, I was not the founder of Vietnam Hosteling. Denis Bisonnet, a French-Canadian lecturer at the Open University Tourism Department, founded and invited me to be on the founding board of directors. And Hosteling International is, and we're a mini United Nations in the sense that we're all independent. Each country has a national association, and at the moment I'm now the CEO of the National Association.
Here in Vietnam.
Here in Vietnam. The youth are the future of Vietnam, and they're so dynamic. They just need opportunity to go out and meet countries in particularly the Asia-Pacific area. We have gone on youth rallies to other countries in this area, and every time we go, the group of Vietnamese just tend to be the best. They're enthusiastic, they're friendly, they connect well with people, and that's what kind of keeps me motivated. Hosteling's been around for 100 years.
How about for Vietnam?
For Vietnam, 5. We are the youngest right now in the chain. We just became a national association last year.
How successful do you think it has been in the past? I mean, how many hostels are there here in Vietnam, and how successful has the organization been?
Well, measuring success, I would say the biggest success is that we have gone through the various stages of, you know, you're an associate member first, and then you keep moving up to a national association. But we did this all totally with volunteer help.
Wow. But now for the youth of VHI, as well as the whole operation, many of the meetings, plans for upcoming youth rallies are all held at Dan's home. So let's have a look at one of those meetings in the following.
Trinh here is a new member of VHI. And today she has come to Dan's home, VHI head office, to prepare for an upcoming youth rally. Trinh is among 7 Vietnamese youths who will travel to Seoul for the 2011 Hosteling International World Youth Rally with some 200 other international youths. VHI has so far arranged for its members to join 7 World Youth Rallies, but for Trinh, this will be her first experience. Dan is here to assist in planning the trip and sort out any travel jitters the youths might have.
Mình cảm giác là anh Dan chính là một người Việt Nam thật sự. Anh rất là cởi mở, chân thành, nhiệt tình, không những là người anh, người thầy, và đôi lúc mình cảm giác cũng là người cha của bọn mình nữa. Anh ấy không những là người có tâm lý, rất hiểu được tâm lý của giới trẻ, và thứ hai, anh chia sẻ những cái hiểu biết của anh ấy đối với bọn mình. Nên thật sự là mình là một người đam mê về hoạt động tình nguyện. Khi mình gặp anh Dan ấy, mình có cảm giác là mình có một niềm đam mê chung với cả anh Dan, nên mình muốn theo anh ấy tham gia cái chương trình hoạt động của Việt Nam 2.
Besides offering assistance to travelers coming to the country with info on eco-tourism and low-budget interactive travel, VHI focuses its activities on such youth rallies. The rallies are exchanges that epitomize learning by encountering new cultures, people and lifestyles.
Đấy là mục đích lớn nhất của tổ chức này, tức là mọi người được đi và được tìm hiểu và để hiểu lẫn về nhau và để xóa bớt thù hằn giữa các dân tộc, cũng như là để nâng cao hiểu biết thì sẽ yêu quý nhau nhiều hơn, và mục đích cuối cùng đó là hòa bình.
Dan says he finds Vietnamese youth so intelligent and dynamic. He believes that helping those youths make friends with international peers via joining World Youth Rallies is his own best way to help Vietnam reach out to the world.
Now, Dan, what is your main job now? I mean, beyond being VHI is already a lot of work for you, but I understand that you also focus on something else.
Well, I came here in 1996 with World Village Foundation. It's an international NGO registered as a nonprofit in the U.S. Came with another American friend, was interested in environmental projects in Vietnam. And we started World Village Foundation. And I've worked the past 16 years on projects, aid to disabled, poverty reduction projects, basically any project where communities or groups need to work together in a more participatory manner. We facilitate workshops, we teach cooperation skills, etc. One of the larger projects we worked on was Asia Development Bank's poverty reduction concept. Their idea was that Vietnam, which has one of the greatest fresh water resources in the world, that 95% of all of the agriculture in Vietnam is irrigation fed. In other words, you're not waiting for it to rain. You can channel the water right into your paddy field. And they figured that, according to statistics, the poorest of the poor are farmers, and the poorest of the poor farmers are at the end of the irrigation canal. Exactly. Or somehow have irrigation problems. So they bring in outside facilitators to go into communities and do community consultation to help them use monies which are available to those communities. We help them organize their meetings. Then they have to take the information and write proposals. And those proposals would say, you know, how much money would be spent for this aspect, and how many people, families, under the poverty line would profit from that project. And they don't necessarily know how to write those. So we either do it or train people, train Vietnamese to go in and help them write the proposals so they can get the funding and solve their problems.
Exactly. also work with people living with disabilities. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Do you have any memories of this work that still stick to mind?
Yes, I have been working with these issues for most of the time that I've been here in Vietnam. There's a disproportionately large number of disabilities in Vietnam. The average country, even in a developed country, 5%, there'll be people will have disabilities. Here it's around 12%, for whatever reason. So we tend to have a lot of work in this area. We trained disabled leaders to form self-help groups. We trained them in the soft skills that I'm using to help organize disabled people in their communities so that they can start getting assistance as a group, as a community, rather than as individuals.
I understand that your connection to Vietnam dates back long before 1996, which we've said was the year when you first started living here. You first came here in 1966, yes?
1966, that was the year I graduated from college in a very conservative, sheltered part of America. The school I went to was kind of famous for social work. They were also famous as an anti-war group. When I graduated, like any 21-year-old, I wanted to see the world, you know, and I figured, well, you know, join a voluntary agency. I joined this group called International Voluntary Services. And they had projects around the world, but very large projects in Vietnam. I worked with 2 Vietnamese teachers, and we would form these lessons, and then we'd go around to the various districts, and the district teachers would
gather.
Work. So I'd help set them up, then the my 2 Vietnamese colleagues would do the teaching. I was a facilitator. Okay. And I was really impressed that, you know, we went out into districts. I was an American in a country where Americans were carrying guns, and yet no one ever tried to harm me. I mean, I was a teacher, and they sensed the difference between a teacher and a soldier. Really quite a sophisticated culture. Mm-hmm. And I liked the food. By the way, food was never a problem. I loved the food.
Now, after you left, after 2 years and a half, you mentioned, you didn't go back to the United States.
No, I was part of this anti-war movement, which was really quite large in America. There was probably 50 million Americans that were very displeased with our government here in the war in Vietnam. But we have 350 million Americans, so 50 million were allowed to express their displeasure, but still the government went ahead with the majority. So a lot of us really left America. I went from here directly to Taiwan.
And you stayed there 20 years.
Stayed there 20 years. I visited home, but basically I've been in Asia for the past almost 40 years.
What brought you from Taiwan to Vietnam?
It was a combination of a lot of things. Guilt is probably one of the strong motivating factors. But
how so?
Well, any person that's been in a war zone, very often that is a defining period of your life. It's so riveting, the experience, that you have to kind of have trouble sorting it out, particularly if you're young. And I was pretty young, at least young emotionally, when I was here. So I came back to kind of understand myself better. I mean, I didn't come back here with, oh, I'm going to help Vietnam. Vietnam does not need my help.
Why?
I mean, Vietnamese are some of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And your country's amazingly rich in natural resource. You got smart people. I mean, Vietnam's doing fine.
So there was kind of a sense of guilt coming back here to Vietnam.
Yeah, I would say when I first started coming back, I apologized. I mean, everybody you run into, somebody lost some family member or somebody. And I would apologize. And they would say, no, Dan. You don't need to apologize. It's not you. You know, you're one of the little guys. You're one of the little guys like us. But we Americans directly elect our government leaders. So we feel responsible for what our leaders do. It's a bit of a different feeling that even though I never carried a gun, never killed anybody, I still feel like I should do something, or I felt like I should have done more to stop the war. There was always that feeling, and that brought me back. You know, I had a bit of a feeling, well, am I going to be accepted when I go back? I mean, we did just such terrible damage to your country. I took my bicycle to Hoang Kim Lake one morning because I was going there to exercise around the lake. And the guy that watches the bikes wasn't there. I was there too early or something. So I asked this woman who was selling bananas along the side of the street, I said, hey, can keep an eye, because I know she was always there. I knew she was reliable. I said, do you watch my bike? You know, I want to exercise, I don't have a lot of time. And no. She didn't want to do it. And I was just chatting, and she said, are you, where are you from? I said, America. Oh, okay, I'll watch it. She didn't charge me.
They're welcoming you like that.
Yeah.
They're accepting you like that. Must have been kind of a surprise to you.
Very surprising and great. I mean, that's why I guess I'm still here.
Being here for the past 16 years, I understand that you've also had an opportunity to get your brother David Rocovits to come. Could you tell us a little bit about him and how you have kind of helped him in kind of being a family facilitator for him with Vietnam?
Well, he's an enthusiastic traveler, so any places where I've lived in the world, he's come to visit. When we were both young, we traveled together in backpacks, and like you see all over Vietnam at the moment. He's been here. In fact, he's coming again in this coming December. But this will be his 10th trip.
Wow.
To Vietnam. And on his 3rd trip, a friend of mine who American veteran who was working with the Lang Hieu Nghị,
the Friendship Village.
The Friendship Village, took my brother and I out. I had been out there before, and we were at the Friendship Village, and we went in a room where they were doing crafts that they were using to sell, so that, they could teach both working skills and generate money for the village.
These are children with living with disabilities.
These are severely disabled children. Almost all of them born with these disabilities. And he just saw them working so hard with just very little, ability to do things. He broke down in tears. And since that point, he has been one of the major fundraisers he joined the Friendship Village project in America, and a lot of the money that he sends over is his own personal money.
It's been a long time since Dan last visited the Vietnam Friendship Village. Mr. Đặng Vũ Dũng, the director of the village, accompanies Dan to visit one of the residents who lived at the village for 7 years, and who Dan and close friends refer to as Little Long. Long, 28 years old, is the son of a veteran in Ha Tây who had been affected by Agent Orange dioxin. Thanks to the help of Dan and friends, Little Long has been able to pursue his year-long interest in computers. Now, Long has come back to the village to teach other residents. To Long, Dan has become such a great supporter in boosting confidence and self-esteem.
Khi mà người ta muốn làm cái gì đấy thì có thể sẽ phải có ngày xưa thì em có thể đắn đo, bây giờ có thể là làm, và khi mà ta đã có một cái ý định gì đấy thì nên làm. Sau mỗi lần chuyện với với Dan thì em thấy vai có thể thoải mái hơn và có những khúc mắc được giải tỏa.
As for the Friendship Village, Dan has become a great friend.
Qua anh bạn giới thiệu để anh biết là Hiếu Nghị, thì anh đã nhiều lần đến đây thăm. Đấy. Thế và anh cũng có những cái hoạt động từ thiện nói chung, tức là giúp cho các em là có những cái cuộc triển lãm về các cái bức tranh thêu, rồi những cái hoa lụa mà các em làm, thế để mà trưng bày sản phẩm để bán. Thế và cũng có lần thì anh cũng đã đưa một số cái họa sĩ nước ngoài đến để giúp cho các em là biết học tập cách vẽ.
The Friendship Village is also a place of unforgettable memories for Dan and his brother, David. Coming to the village for the first time with Dan, David had broken down in tears, touched by the resilience of the disabled children.
My brother doesn't cry much. He's a kind of a stoic American type, and it really brought us closer together than we'd ever been in our life. So I have that. I thank the Friendship Village for that moment.
Dan says that he would join his brother David when he returns to the Vietnam Friendship Village this December for his 10th visit to Vietnam. They will continue supporting the village, which is also home to over 120 children living with the wide range effects of Agent Orange dioxin. Now, I heard that in the central region of Vietnam, you've also worked with areas that are affected by Agent Orange dioxin. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Well, when I was still in Taiwan, I was introduced to a Viet monk who had relocated to Germany when he was quite young. He wanted to do an aid project in Vietnam, and he wanted help in forming an NGO. So I helped him form an NGO. It's called Compassion International, and they focus on children, education and aid to children, and children with disabilities. They're working now in Hue, Quang Tri, Quang Ngai, which are areas which were heavily sprayed with dioxin. They finance corrective operations for children. Very often their limbs can be straightened with corrective surgery. They work on education projects because they feel that long-term education is the way to improve Vietnam for the next 100 years.
Agent Orange dioxin is a big subject here in Vietnam in terms of Vietnam's relations with the United States.
Right.
Did you feel any sense of connection there when you were working on those projects?
Well, I would like to get rid of the concept of Agent Orange and just talk about severely handicapped children. I have the solution. All I need is about $750 $50 million. And what we do is we build schools in the poorest of the poor areas of Vietnam. So Vietnamese really know how to use a school. There's an organization called Vietnam Children's Fund that builds schools. They've built about 43 schools so far in 40 provinces. Their goal is to put one in each province. And they're doing like 5 or 6 schools a year. How about let's do 250 schools a year? It's just a question of funding. The system for building the schools where the community actually builds the school, so they get paid for building the school. They take care of those schools. Those are community centers. The schools are built so well, they're guaranteed for 50 years.
Wow.
So if we're not building 5 a year, 250 a year, you know, $750 million is about the cost of a stealth bomber. You know, we owe it. You know, so anyone out there, if you've got that money, we'll spend it well. We need schools here.
Every morning, Dan's family starts the day with yoga. Sunny, Dan and Hung's 7-month-old baby girl, joins in the action as well. Dan first met Hung 6 years ago, and for Hung, the first impressions of her husband are still vivid and memorable.
Khi mà nhìn thấy cái công việc của Dan làm ấy, thì mình đã rất cảm động và có thể nói là mình rơi nước mắt ngay cái lúc đó, vì mình thấy rất là nhiều cái poster xung quanh cái căn nhà của Dan ở rất là giản dị và đều là viết bằng chữ tiếng Việt, thì mình cảm thấy là tại sao một người như thế này mà lại gắn bó Việt Nam lâu như thế này. Có một cái mình luôn luôn cảm nhận được là Dan là một người có trái tim lớn. Morning, Dan. Morning. Không có gì có thể nói thay thế được cái mà mình cảm nhận được bằng lời, là Dan rất là tuyệt vời, là một người cha tuyệt vời, là một người chồng rất là tâm lý, mọi thứ đều chia sẻ với cả mình. Bọn mình có thể có những điểm chung có lên đến tới 98%.
Dan shares that his biggest achievement in coming to Vietnam has been his family. And Hung and Sunny have helped to make his connections to the country ever more profound and meaningful. Now, we just saw here some footages of you and your very wonderful family. Your 7-month-old daughter, her name is Sunny.
Sunny.
Yes, Sunny. She's adorable. And we saw there in the footage you were practicing yoga with her. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's been practicing since
birth.
Wow.
Hung, her mother, was doing yoga the day she gave birth.
Wow.
I mean, obviously there's certain postures that you can't do when you've got a stomach that's a few kilos larger, but
so practicing yoga since being in the womb, basically.
Exactly.
She's going to become a yoga master one day.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but I'm just hoping she'll be healthy.
Yes, but she looks amazing. Do you think forming a family, I mean, together with Hung, having a family now together with baby Sunny, do you think that changed you in a sense?
I smile more. It's great. And I really love it. I mean, wow. I can't imagine what it'd be like not having
Sunny around.
Yeah, I like it. And I've never had a maid. Since I've been in Asia, I've never had a maid in my house. I clean my house myself. We take care of Sunny. We want to do it. We want the joy of taking care of a child ourselves. And that's really been great.
Now, we mentioned from the very beginning, we sneak peeked a little bit, that Dan here has been one of the first yoga instructors here in Vietnam. And now we'll join in one of his classes, as he still teaches 4 to 5 classes each week. Dan offers his home as the learning abode for anyone who would like to take up yoga and find stress relief.
Yoga thì thật ra nó cũng rất là tốt cho tất cả mọi người, từ già đến trẻ và trẻ con. Như bọn mình làm văn phòng có thể ngồi 8 tiếng một ngày ở văn phòng ấy, thì nó rất là mỏi vai, hoặc là những người bị tiền đình, rối loạn tiền đình cũng được. Thế đến Dan học thì Dan dạy rất là tốt. Thì mình cảm thấy là khi mà ngồi văn phòng nhiều như thế, đau nhức mỏi như thế thì tìm đến Dan để mình học, mình thư giãn.
Dan shares that when he first taught yoga in Vietnam, most of his students were foreigners. With yoga becoming increasingly popular after 16 years, his students are all now Vietnamese, many of whom are his close friends. Huyền here is one such friend.
Với anh Dan thì sau một ngày làm việc mệt mỏi, mình đến, mình vẫn cảm thấy mình có đủ khả năng để mình tập, bởi vì buổi học nó trôi đi rất là nhẹ nhàng, mà mình trở về với gia đình mình lại vui vẻ như là bắt đầu một ngày làm việc mới. Thì anh rất là tận tâm. Đấy, và mình nghĩ là với cái tấm lòng như vậy thì chắc là anh cũng đi làm từ thiện và giúp đỡ mọi người thì rất là đúng với cả cái, vừa là với triết lý yoga vừa là đúng con người thật của Dan.
Hoping to share his lifelong passion of yoga to his Vietnamese friends, Dan's class has become a well-loved spot for all those searching for relaxation and peace of mind. Now, with yoga, how long have you been practicing and how long have you been teaching?
Oh, I've been practicing over 40 years.
Wow.
It's a habit.
It's a lifetime kind of habit.
Mm.
And
I've been
teaching?
teaching for about 30 years.
30 years, and we saw, I mean, you practice yoga every day with the family, and what do you think keeps you sticking with yoga for so long?
Well, yoga fits certain personalities. Some people like movement. They're moving people, you know, they get up, they walk. They'll walk up steps rather than taking elevators. I'm that kind of a person. I like moving. And the work I've been doing my whole life is, a lot of it is mental work. It's changing, it's adapting, it's new things every day. I need to rest mentally. And yoga is slow and boring.
A form of stress relief.
Yeah, for some people who have rather boring jobs, I think yoga would not fit. But for people who do a lot of brain work, stressful work, yoga fits, because you just have to relax because you're moving so slowly. You're holding a posture and breathing into it. It's not exciting. My job is exciting. My work is exciting. Travel's exciting.
That's enough of excitement.
I need something to balance it, and it fits my lifestyle.
Moving on to your life here in Hanoi, what do you like the best about it? We saw images of you and your family doing your daily kind of walk there alongside the Red River. What else do you like about life here in Hanoi? What has kept you here for the past 16 years?
People. That's an easy answer. We have some great friends. It's really, really special folks. And they're all different. It's like going to a buffet, a social buffet. You have crazy artists and, and some really strange folks but they're interesting.
A kind of quiz now. I mean, you mentioned kind of short survey about your likes and loves here in Hanoi. You mentioned Vietnamese food. What's your favorite dish?
I like the Vietnamese vegetarian cooking. I like pho also, but as I move, the idea is that Vietnam is, everything is gourmet. You've probably got, 2,000 pho restaurants in the greater Hanoi area. And each one is different.
Distinctive.
And special. And you could walk the city and just eat in little eateries, and you'd be eating gourmet food everywhere. That's so special. We don't have that in America.
Continuing your little quiz now. What is your biggest dream?
My biggest dream at the moment is to get Hosteling International more profitable, because mentioned I'm going to be leaving in 5 years, and really it should be run by a Vietnamese.
Well, we've talked about dreams. How about fears? Do you have any fears? Biggest fears?
My biggest fear is that I lose inspiration. As I say, I'm a project junkie, and that's what kind of keeps me energized, gets me out of bed in the morning. My projects, the next project and the next project. The thought of someday I get up and say, oh, I don't want to do anything anymore. I've lost inspiration.
Yeah.
That's my big fear in life.
16 years of living here in Vietnam. What is the thing that makes you most satisfied, the thing that you are most happy about throughout your time here?
Well, I'm happy that I've somehow come and resolved the devils in my head that any veteran carries with him or her. So that problem solved. And of course having a family now is great. I feel like my job is just about finished here. But I will be coming back even though I go to the US, because I'm connected here.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, for coming to Talk Vietnam today, sharing your stories, very wonderful stories. 16 years and even beyond that, your love for Vietnam, your connection to Vietnam, your help to the country. Even though you say that Vietnam needs no help, I think you've done tremendous work here in the country. And I hope that you and your family will always consider this place your second home, your home.
Oh, absolutely, definitely.
Thank
you for inviting me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our talk this week with Dan Rocovits. We hope you've enjoyed the talk session. We'll talk more next time here on another edition of Talk Vietnam. Goodbye.